Thank you.
I can get you a definitive answer, 100%.
That works. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Any public comment? All right, please call the roll.
8,
Yes.
District 9, District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yes.
District 7.
Yes.
Motion to adopt is approved. Ordinance 80, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council authorizing non-warranty donation of the property at 422 Madison Street to Habitat for Humanity pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 472205.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilman Boudreaux, second by Councilman Castillo. Any council discussion? I'm seeing none. Any public comment?
Yes, sir.
All right, please call the roll.
District 9,
Yes.
District 1,
Yes?
District 2,
Yes.
District 3, District 4, District 5, District 6, District 7, District 8. Motion to adopt is approved. Ordinance 81, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council authorizing non-warranty donation of the property at 521 South Magnolia Street to Habitat for Humanity pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 472205.
Okay, got a motion by Councilman Boudreaux, got a second by Councilman Castillo. Any council discussion? Seeing none. Public comment?
Yes, sir.
All right, call the roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5, District 6,
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 9. Motion to adopt is approved.
Okay, now we'll move over to appeals. I'd like to remind everyone that item 25 has been withdrawn per the appellant's request. And now we'd like to move on to item 26. Chairman, can you please read?
Appeal of Planning Commission action, Faber Realty LLC, resub Tract 1 into Tract 1A and 2, PC 2018-16.
Okay, thank you so much. At this time, we'd like to call someone from DNP. Also, would like to have Councilwoman Liz Hebert's mic is hot.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I've been notified by the developer earlier today that they are withdrawing their appeal. They're requesting to have their appeal withdrawn. I believe that a representative from the organization wanted to come up and make a brief comment on his withdrawal request. So,
Thank you, Councilman Hebert. And I know you still have 20-something items on the agenda, so I'll be quick. I know Councilwoman Hebert is intimately familiar with this case, but just wanted to give the rest of you all a background on the appeal and why we decided to withdraw it. So after the Planning Commission, a stipulation was put on our approval regarding a public road, and because it was a surprise, our initial reaction was to oppose it. But we have since met with the planning staff, permitting staff, council persons, and had a chance to understand the citizens' concerns. And after considering all that, the landowner made the decision to pull it. So from this point forward, you know, he's been operating at this location for several years and has all the intentions of being a good neighbor, abiding by the ordinance from a traffic standpoint, drainage standpoint, and continue to operate a successful business. So with that said, I just would like you all to know that. So.
Okay.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
And that's all I have, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay.
And for the official record, do you have his name? His name?
Oh, the official record.
Sorry, Taylor Gravois representing Faber Realty.
Thank you.
All right.
So with that said, Mr. Chair, that one would be withdrawn, so the council will not be taking any action on that item.
On item 26?
On item 26.
All right. Okay. Let's move to the next one.
Appeal of Planning Commission action, Faber Realty LLC, resub Tract 1 into Tract 1A and 2, PC 2018-16.
Okay. Now I'd ask Ms. Sarah to come back up and please explain what's going on and we'll have some council discussion, I'm pretty sure, and then we'll move to public comment from there.
All right. This is an appeal of the Planning Commission action. This case went to the Planning Commission back in May, and it was granted preliminary and final plat approval for the subdivision of 13.048 acres of property into 2 lots for commercial use. Like I said, the Planning Commission did grant this, both preliminary and final plat approval based upon certain conditions. And an adjacent property owner has appealed the Planning Commission's decision of granting preliminary plat approval. So they're appealing that, basically the preliminary plat approval granting that was granted. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Not seeing any council discussion. We'll move to public comment.
We do have 7 speakers signed in. We did have 18 citizens who signed in, who did not wish to speak, who signed in to support the appeal. The first of 7 speakers, Raymond Robinson. He will be followed by Robert Brown.
My name again is Raymond Robinson. I live at 109 Parsonage. My property is adjacent to this development. Basically, my lot is in the middle of it. We have flooding at the end of Johnson and Canberra, and we have flooding at Pantaba and Canberra. I believe the access to this road and right-of-way will help alleviate that. I've lived in Lafayette for 27 years, and I remember Ambassador Caffrey, you could drive down it in a rainstorm, and there wasn't any water standing on the road. And now, with all the development that we've allowed, that corridor takes 45 minutes to get from the interstate down to Johnson Street, and the road is flooded so bad that cars can only use one lane. So I think it's up to the council to assist the residents in this. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Robert Brown. And my apologies, I forgot to state that one citizen did sign in opposition to the appeal and did not wish to speak. Robert Brown.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask, am I speaking to number 27 or number 28?
Be 27, sir.
All right, I'm going to speak to both. That's why I'm asking.
But you can only speak to 27. You'll have to fill out a card and speak on the next item.
I did. I filled out a card for both. In
Right,
fact,
but
I
you-
also filled out a card for number 26.
Yeah, 26 is not there, so what I'm saying
Yes,
is.
I know.
You have to speak to 27, and then when 28 comes up.
I'll do that. Okay. So speaking of number 27, because I'm an adjacent property owner, I'm also a member of the neighborhood. The neighborhood of more than 40 neighborhood people filed this appeal, number 27. Okay? So our concerns are numerous. I mean numerous. The drainage and flooding you've heard about many times before, the 7 acres of impervious concrete, and we're going to become a guinea pig for the 15% reduction plan for a new development. That's not been done to my knowledge yet, but we're going to be the guinea pig. The increased traffic that's introduced further into the neighborhood, further down inside our neighborhood, not up off of Johnson, turning into the dealerships, but coming all the way down inside of us. 18-wheelers being put on paved roads that are very narrow. They are not to DOT code, to my knowledge, current code for sure. And they've never been intended or built from the time the neighborhood was developed to carry heavy commercial traffic, commercial heavy vehicles. If you go up to Johnson Street in Canberra right now, and if you took the time to drive out there and look, there's already places in the pavement have been marked with yellow paint markers that are crumbling and destroying away. So that is already evidence of heavy commercial trucks gaining access to the Infiniti dealership. The business activity will be carried further into our neighborhood, and we fear that you're setting a precedent that could allow any type of business to petition to move into a neighborhood like ours simply by voting to change the zoning to something convenient to someone that's going to generate a few jobs and bring tax dollars, and redo the flood zones as well, if that's convenient. Even though such items go before the committees, it seems like you all pretty much vote in the same manner. Tonight, everybody has been a yes vote on everything. So 18-wheelers missing turns that place them into our neighborhood creates a danger. Danger for our adults that like to walk at evenings and during the day. Danger of our children playing in the streets and riding their bicycles. And it's an accident waiting to happen. The pollution issue. You're going to light us up out there like an airport all night. Even when this dealership closes at closed business hours, 24/7, 365, we're going to live with this. We didn't buy our homes in there to live with this. That property prior to this had been our hopes and prayers that someday we would see homes built in there, much like our own homes, to fill out the neighborhood and complete the neighborhood, down inside the neighborhood, not up on Johnson Street, in the neighborhood. But instead, our somedays arrive now, and we're being threatened to have a car dealership, a car lot, overflow lot, placed across from us. The noise pollution. Voices on a PA system that we may be squawking and listening to while we're trying to enjoy our families. Squeaking brakes on 18-wheelers. If you've ever been around an 18-wheeler, you know what I'm talking about. The air brake systems of an 18-wheeler. We don't need to listen to all that. Why? We didn't buy our homes in there to listen to this. Our neighbors have spoke since day one. We had a meeting at the library, and Liz came. At no time has our district council rep given us any hope whatsoever that she would stand by us and vote in our favor to stop this. Never, not even since day one. She already had her mind made up before she ever arrived. I don't know what's coming around on this. I'd like to know what this dealership's what good is it going to do for our neighborhood coming down inside of us? Many of us are becoming aggrieved persons. I'm stressed. I'm extremely stressed. I don't want to sell, but by gosh, I might have to, and I don't know if I'll find someone to buy my place. My time is up in respect of your timer. For 15 or 20 minutes, I've been allowed to speak at these meetings to try to protect my home investment for 20 years.
I allowed the time to go over, sir, with all due respect. Next speaker, please.
Leslie Davis, and she will be followed by Denise Brown.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Davis. I live at 109 Cary Street. I am not in that neighborhood, but I am adjacent to it, and my house flooded in August of 2016. So the first reason that I support this appeal is because I feel like the will of the neighborhood has spoken, and this council is not listening. I appreciate that you've asked developers to make these modifications, but the bottom line is that does not change the fact that they're going to be living across the street from a car lot in a residential neighborhood. We are not against commercial development. We are against commercial development in a neighborhood where the neighbors have spoken outright. $1,000 put together for this appeal. 2 appeals. That speaks volumes. Okay, so that's number one. Number 2, drainage and flooding. I live on the coulee that car lot is going to drain into, and I appreciate that you think you're going to get 15% better runoff from the concrete. But the bottom line is, once this is done, it is done. I don't know of any consequences. I don't know of any monitoring that's going to go on. And like you said, we are the guinea pigs. I mean, if you look at the drainage map for that coulee, and you look at the development on Robley, South City Parkway, and Johnson Street that drain into that coulee, it is enormous. And there have been no improvements to that coulee, and to my knowledge, there are none. And we can't bank on the fact that in the future that you are going to make improvements to that coulee. So somebody like me, who lives on the coulee and did flood in 2016, is affected. Now, you might say that's an anomaly, and that was the 500-year flood, and I understand that. Now, I didn't flood in 93, when half of Lafayette flooded as well, but we did flood in 2016, and on November 1st, 2017, I have sent all of you pictures. It was a serious rain event, I won't deny that, but it was not abnormal. And the water was over the Bruce Street Bridge and to the top of the Bellevue Plantation Bridge. That is significant. There is a change in the amount of water coming down that coulee. My neighbors see it, I see it, and I am directly affected. And I can guarantee if you continue to develop that area without making the proper drainage improvements, and again, I know the 15%, you think you're going to get it. But what happens if you don't? What are the consequences? What can you do once that is done? You're for sure going to have a retaining pond. I mean, that's the bottom line if you're going to hold that kind of water. And is it 15% runoff to the street, or is it 15% runoff, improvement to runoff to the drainage system? Because if it's just being diverted from the street straight to drainage, then you're putting thousands of gallons of water faster. I think you realize the difference between a field and concrete. I mean, there is mathematical equations, obviously, that the drainage department should know about what that runoff should be. It is a lot of water that you're putting directly into a system that is already stressed. I do not feel like our subdivision should be the guinea pigs for this project. There are other commercial areas where these people could put an overflow lot. It does not need to be in the residential subdivision where your neighbors are against it, in an area that is already stressed with significant water and drainage issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker, Denise Brown.
I'd like to thank you all for your time. We've spent our time too. I know that there have been numerous residents of our neighborhood who have written emails to each and every one of you, myself being one of them. My daughter, who doesn't even live in the neighborhood anymore, she wrote one also. And I guess the biggest issue that we all want to know the answer to is, what good is this doing our neighborhood? And what is it going to take for y'all to listen to us? What is it? We've spoken, we've written, we've called, we've come to meetings, we've held meetings on our own, and yet you still continue to pass this. We don't want this in our neighborhood. We don't care if he builds it somewhere else. On Johnson Street, there are plenty of other car lots around town, car dealers, that have their overflow lots in other locations that are not adjoining their property. Why is it so important that this one comes 3 blocks deep into an already established neighborhood? Anybody? What good's going to come of it, other than he'll have a place to store a few cars, sell a few extra cars, which, when you get right down to it, after a few months, that overflow lot, what's going to be parked there? It's not going to be new cars. It's going to be trade-ins. It's going to be vehicles that are waiting to be serviced, repairs that need to be made, because I understand there will be a repair facility on there also. There are so many problems associated with this that everybody seems to be, and by everybody I'm including all of y'all, seem to be turning your nose up to. The biggest thing should be, you should be listening to us. We put you where you are because we thought you would listen to us. And we don't feel like that is happening at all. We don't know what else to do. We're short of begging you know? I realize there's a large amount of money that's come into play in this, but there's a large amount of other things that come into those of us who have lived here for 20-plus years and who thought we would be able to continue living here. But I'll be honest, if I can find somebody to buy my house if that thing goes in, I'm out. And that's some more tax dollars you're going to lose. Thank y'all.
Next speaker is Tiffany Swartz, and she will be followed by Jonathan Jobert.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Swartz. I live at 205 Devereaux Drive. I live in the neighborhood, and I have many points I want to make out tonight. One, he's doing very well. The car dealership that's going to expand 3 blocks into our neighborhood, very, very, very well. This is not going to hurt him. This is an overflow lot, so by definition, he doesn't need it. You are hurting my neighborhood, driving down property values, placing a nuisance in our neighborhood, and you're going to cause our neighborhood to flood. Even if it doesn't flood, it's still a nuisance. It's ugly. It's loud. No one wants to look at it. Even if we don't flood, you're still going to drive our property values down. Nobody wants to live next to a car dealership. This is foolish. You guys all said that you wanted to do something to help people who are flooding in Lafayette. The 15% isn't going to make much of a difference. We are on the cusp. We are not near flooding. We are on the very brink of flooding from all of the leftover water that is coming from all these irresponsibly placed developments, like large parking lots. I believe there are 13 nearby, 13 giant parking lots, not just car dealerships, but I mean, we're talking from the mall all the way up to the car dealerships that are right next to us. All of this water is coming into our neighborhood. It is causing our coulee to white cap. We are on the very brink of flooding the entire neighborhood. 15% is not going to make a difference. I'm sorry. Y'all need to reconsider this. This is a really bad idea. Nobody wants it on top of everything else. Nobody. One person wants this, the person who owns the dealership, and he doesn't need it. By definition, it is an overflow lot. He does not need it. He can put it elsewhere and he'll still make money. Why hurt our community for something, for an accessory that he doesn't really need? That's very foolish. Very, very foolish and very irresponsible. There are better ways to go about this. There's plenty of property at the front of the neighborhood. Won't cause any problems. Nobody'd care. If you want to you're so die-hard, dead set on having business put in the middle of our neighborhood, make it something that's going to help us out. Put a bookstore, a coffee shop. Don't put a car lot. Come on, guys. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Jonathan Jobert, followed by the final speaker, Eddie Begnaud.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Jobert. I live at 100 Parsonage Lane. I'm an entire lifelong Lafayette resident. I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club. I was president of the Keystone Club. I did move to Washington State for a little while, but I came back here because Lafayette offered me an opportunity to education that I felt I couldn't pass up. My mother was Janie Jackson. She was a teacher, a retired librarian. She became an attorney in this town and worked on several community organizations and taught me to do the same thing. I remember moving into that home when I was 17. She raised my brother and I by herself, and this was one of her biggest accomplishments, that she could offer us a life better. A few years ago, I watched her breathe her last breath in that house, and I have children that I'm raising in that home now. I had the opportunity to let the house go and move elsewhere. My wife and I both work from home, but I wanted to stay. I had hoped, because this wasn't a commercial district, I own commercial property. And I know what it takes, and I know the thoughts that go into this, and I don't believe anyone here is being malicious and trying to harm us. I think that you're all trying to do what is best interest of the people. But all of the people who live in this neighborhood are against that. We would love to see a park. We would love to see some other kind of beautification to the area. Our streets and our sidewalks have remained cracked until recently. Actually, this year they repaired them so I could actually go walking and drag a wagon behind me with my 2 kids. The difficulty I have is that now you're putting a commercial business in my residence. And I remember the pain in the butt that I had to do because I had one residence surrounded by a commercial district. And it took me forever to make just a parking lot change. And yet somehow we're going to go from 7 acres of ground to 7 acres of concrete. Again, I was there when she purchased the house whenever I was 17 years old. I'm 40 now. Whenever the hurricanes hit, the floodings hit, we went to her house because her electricity stayed on. We moved there because we wanted to stay away from the flooding. We wanted to have an opportunity to be in a better side of the town. And I hope Lafayette continues to grow for everyone's betterment. But I don't see this helping us. I don't see this helping our neighborhood, and nobody wants it here. And I would hope that you would listen to the will of the people. And the will of the people is do not turn our residential area into a commercial neighborhood. I've seen firsthand what happens when that happens. I know more commercial businesses are going to come. That's what we want. And I said it at the last meeting, and I'll say it again. And I just heard the report that you're getting a decrease in tax dollars. Well, my wife and I pay tens of thousands of tax dollars, and we will leave this state if I lose my home here. And that's not a threat. That's not to wish anyone harm. It's because that's the reality of the situation. We are prepared to give up and move our life elsewhere if we cannot have the life that we hoped in the community that I grew up in. And that makes me sad because I've watched and I've mentored the youth and I've told them to stick around, fight, that Lafayette has something to offer. It isn't all nepotism. Louisiana gets a bad rap. We're not all just corrupt trying to take over and just hurt the little guy. We are the little guys in this situation. And if you believe that we know what's best for us, which is why we elect y'all, then believe us when we say we don't want this. And that's all I ask. So please consider that before you vote. Thank you for your time.
Final speaker, Eddie Begnaud. Pass. There are no more speakers, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Right now, we need to add Mr. Escott for clarification. A yes vote would grant the appeal, correct? And a no vote would deny the appeal?
It depends on the language of the motion. What the motion that was,
we don't
there
have
was
a mo-
no motion
we have
made
no
yet.
motion, so I
So
need
it
to wait.
depends on the
Okay.
language of the motion. If the motion is made to grant the appeal, then yes, obviously, a yes vote would grant the appeal. If the motion is made to deny the appeal, then the opposite is true. So it just depends on the language of the motion.
Well, as chairman, I can't make a motion, so I'm going to refer to my fellow councilmen and councilwomen on what motion, or who's going to offer a motion to grant or deny. And if there's a lack of a motion, I would assume this thing.
The motion can also be styled in the form of the way the language in the UDC appears, and that is it could be a motion to approve of the Planning Commission's decision, disapprove of the Planning Commission's decision, or modify the Planning Zoning Commission's decision.
Okay. Our board's not lit up, so no one's making a motion. Councilman Terrio.
Yep, let's make it easy. The board right here says appeal of planning commission action. So a yes vote will appeal the action of the planning commission to move forward with
But
this.
again, it depends on the motion being made. If you make a motion to grant the appeal, then a yes vote would kill the development, so to speak. If you make a motion to deny the appeal, then the Planning Commission's decision stands and the appeal is denied. It just depends on the language of your motion.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I got you. Let's do it here. Make a motion to grant the appeal of the planning commission action. Is that good enough, Mr. Escott?
Actually, let me clarify. Your motion is to grant the appeal
Grant
that
the
is
appeal.
currently before the council.
In other words,
Be
if you,
fine.
All right,
what's the motion?
to grant the appeal.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to grant the appeal. Is there a second? Do you need a second?
You need a second.
Yeah, I'll second. Okay. We have a motion to grant the appeal.
Now, I'll clarify what a vote yes and no means.
Okay.
Because the motion is to grant the appeal, if you vote yes, then you overturn the Planning Commission's decision of giving preliminary plat approval. If you vote no, then the appeal fails and the Planning Commission's decision stands.
Okay. Everybody clear? All right. Call the vote, please.
District 2? District 3?
No.
District 4?
No.
District 5?
No.
District 6?
No.
District 7?
No.
District 8?
No.
District 9?
Yes.
District 1?
Does it matter?
No.
Motion to grant the appeal fails. Appeal of Planning Commission action, Faber Realty LLC, resub Tract 1 into Tract 1A and 2, PC 2018-16, Robert Brown et al.
Okay. Sarah?
Okay, so this is a similar appeal to the last case. Basically, it's a different adjacent property owner, and he is, his appeal is basically to, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. His appeal is to reverse the Planning Commission's decision. It's the same piece of property, just a different adjacent property owner. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Council discussion? Seeing none? Okay, let's move to public comment.
We do have 19 citizens who signed in who did not wish to speak but supports the appeal. We had one citizen who signed in opposition to the appeal but did not wish to speak. We do have 8 speakers signed in, the first of which is Kyle Bork. Mr. Bork will be followed by Robert Brown. Kyle Bork. He stepped out. Is he
Kyle.
still here? Okay, well, we'll go on and we'll call him back. Robert Brown.
Thank y'all. I am one of the adjacent property owners. This was in behalf of 7 or 8 of us that are adjacent that signed that was for the appeal. I'd like to start by, I sent you all an email, several emails. I'd like to just read a verse from one of those. The architect, Christopher Alexander, is per perpetuity said that he asks himself one question when he enters a space. Does this place raise one's spirits or lower them? We believe as adjacent homeowners that if you let this car dealership build this overflow lot and we're all faced to stare at 24/7, 365, it's going to lower the spirits of our neighborhood. I too am concerned about all the previous points that have been raised in all the meetings that we've come forth before you and spoke. From the hearts of the adjacent homeowners who will be impacted the very most, I'm one of them, why must we be forced to stare at a car dealership's business or car lot from our yards and our windows 24/7, 365? Even during the closed hours, we're still going to live with this glow and this busyness across from our homes. Why must we be the ones injured and forced to give up our rights to enjoyment of our homes that we've had for many, many years? Many years, far longer than Infinity dealership's been there. We want our peace and quiet. We don't want the noise and the eyesore associated to a busy business like this. Bring a business in that's something like a coffee house or a bookstore, something that adds to the value of our neighborhood, not takes away. We're not against the Fabers having their commercial dealership. We didn't argue about the Infinity dealership being put in. we never even came forward. I don't know if there was any discussion or not, but we didn't argue it. We just don't need this down in our neighborhood. That's all we're asking you. Stop this overflow lot and staring us in the face with a bunch of damn cars, excuse my French. Keep it up on Johnson Street. As previous speakers have indicated, there's other places for an overflow lot. It doesn't have to be there. He's doing fine without an overflow lot. He can put it somewhere else. This dealership is not the only one that has overflow lots. They're not adjoining their properties. There's several. So I'd like to also comment to Mr. Kevin Nukin. During the item 9 discussion tonight, you voiced heavily from your heart, our home is our investment. Why we don't want to protect them. So I ask you, first I say I liked your heartfelt comment tonight. So I have to ask you, why am I any different? Why am I any different? Should I not be able to express a heartfelt feeling that I'm trying to protect my home, my investment? If we're all equals and concerned citizens, I think I should be granted that right. I've had my home for 20 years. Finally, I close my argument with what I've stated before. If you're moving your family into Lafayette and you can choose to buy a home that's several streets inside the neighborhood surrounded by other homes and neighborhood kids and families having and enjoying their home, and it's the same price and same approximate size as my home, that my home's going to be facing a car dealership, car lot, ask me or tell me, be honest with yourselves. Ask yourself this question. Are you going to come and look at my home and buy my home? Or are you going to go inside the neighborhood? I played golf with one of the engineers that reviewed this plan, and over the weekend we had some discussion. And he said, why are you arguing this? Just let it be. It's going to happen anyway. You're wasting your time. And I said, I'll tell you why. Do you want to buy my home next to a car dealership? Would you do that? And he said, of course not. I wouldn't buy a home next to a car dealership. I already own my home. It's in a neighborhood with other homes around it. I didn't buy a house in March 1999 by a dealership, and I don't want to live by a dealership. And I too, if I have to, I'll sell.
Next speaker is Leslie Davis, followed by Denise Brown.
Hold on. Ms. Brown, can you give me a second, if you don't mind?
Ms. Davis?
Oh, Ms. Davis, I'm sorry.
Of course.
For the previous speaker, I'm not attacking you. I'm not, no way, shape, or form trying to harm the citizens in that area. There is some things that need to be discussed, and some things that, one of the questions I asked was, did the developer do his due diligence? Did he go through the process that is laid out in front of us? Does he have to follow the new stricter drainage regulations? The thing that we forget sometimes is we don't want people to tell us what to do with our property. But we want to tell them what they can do with their property. And what I mean by that is, if you have to go and try to sell a home in your subdivision and you find a buyer, do you want the neighbors around you to have the authority to prevent you and stop you from selling your home? Man, I don't think anybody would like that. I'm talking about fire safety. I'm talking about people responding to save a life and a house and the investment. I know your home is your investment. I know your home is your investment, but to take a comment and try to come at me in a way that I don't have a heart, that I don't care for you guys and any of that, That's so far from the truth. It's, at the end of the day, there's things that the developer had to go through. It's not like he got, just go ahead and go do it. At the end of the day, could he maybe go somewhere else? Yes, he probably can. But his business is right there, and all around you guys is commercial. Okay? I'm not. Point I'm trying to get at is you can be upset. You have every right to be. But I'm not making my vote or my decision without me looking at the facts that are in front of me. As far as for what the developer has to go through, did he do his due diligence in that aspect? Okay? So, again, there is land that you buy, and there is investments that you make, and to sit here and think that nothing will ever develop in front of you or next to you is just not fair. I mean, that's someone's land. That's someone's property. Okay? So, listen. When it boils down to it, you're asking us to basically look at where you're at. I understand your concern, understand the situation, but there's regulations and stipulations that we put on the developer that he must meet. And he has to try to make sure that it's not an inconvenience, but at the end of the day, the developer, it's a business, okay? Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's a tough situation. But to say that I'm out against you, or to say that I'm against the residents because I have something, I'm not against you. Okay? It's tough decisions, and it very well could fall on my district, and it can very well fall on the same situation. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, what would you do if that was your property, if you were depending, if it was your business? Because we can speculate that he doesn't need an overflow light, he doesn't need this, he doesn't need that, but that's his business. He knows better what he needs or what he can, and if he has an opportunity to expand his business and he follows the law and he follows the process and he has to do drainage improvements and he has to build a road, he is doing his part in society to make sure that he's following the law. He's not breaking any laws, you know? So I asked, did he do the drainage analysis? Did he do everything that he needed to do? You know, so, you know, I also want to say that, you know, I was at a flood meeting not too long ago, sitting in the public library, and I sat right behind me was, you know, very disrespectful in my ear. Yeah. You know, so, you know, I would appreciate that at the end of the day, we try to get it resolved and do the best that we can. So I'm gonna quit talking. Next.
Leslie Davis.
Thank you. It seems foolish in the extreme for me to be talking. However, you talked about the fact that if people have property, then they should be able to do with it what they want. The problem is...
Hold on. Can you start it now? Her time wasn't on, right?
It's on.
It started.
It just started.
Okay, it just started. Okay, I just want to make sure that we didn't...
I was watching. We are here because our backs are against the wall. We came to you earlier and asked you not to zone it that way. You did it anyway. We are not here because, we're here because this is our last ditch effort, and we have been telling you from the beginning that we do not want this. I understand that if you have property, that you should be able to dispose of it as you wish, but we have zoning laws in place for the reasons that we've talked about to protect residents. There are commercial zones for a reason, and to come into, as they have said a zillion times, 3 blocks into a neighborhood on non-commercial streets, I realize that the developer has said they're not going to bring 18-wheelers down. They're not going to do test drives. They're going to do the 15% flood runoff reduction or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the neighbors in this subdivision have spoken, and you are setting a precedent that says, I really don't care. This commercial development, you've said that from the beginning, so we are here only because our backs are against the wall. This is our last-ditch effort. They put together $1,000 to come before you, $1,000 to come before you and say, we do not want this. We have been telling you we don't want this, and you are not listening. We have no other choice. We are telling you, we know there's going to be noise pollution, there's going to be light pollution, no matter the great modifications and how beautiful it looks, and supposedly what drainage improvements they make that achieve that 15% runoff, that once it's in place, there is no taking back. There is no undo, there is no redo. It is done, and their property values will take a hit, no doubt about it. And if you search your heart, you will realize that. I know this isn't about heart, and I realize that you're trying to do due diligence to this developer who has jumped through the hoops. But the bottom line is the hoops were not high enough, and they should never have been allowed to develop in that subdivision, in that space in the first place. So this is our only last-ditch effort to try to tell you that we oppose this. And you are going to have residents that watch this and say, you know what? Those residents said they didn't want it, and the council voted anyway. They did not care. I'm sorry, that is the bottom line. We have said we didn't want it from the get-go. We are here only because our backs are against the wall. This is our last-ditch effort, and we are trying to tell you that we have serious concerns that affect the livelihood of our homes and our investments, and this is our only hope. That's it. Because we got to this point, because we were not listened to in the first place. And I get that they had hoops they had to go through, but the bottom line is a commercial-heavy business should not be in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's the bottom line. Thank you.
Next speaker is Denise.
Councilman Boudreaux.
Sarah, could you come see for a second, please? Could you
Sir.
go over when was the property rezoned to commercial heavy from single-family residential?
So, can you bring up let me. Okay, so what I can tell you is this front piece, the front lot that currently has the Infinity dealer on it, that was always zoned commercial heavy. The piece, the 10 acres that fall between the back of the Infinity dealer and the neighborhood, for lack of, right at the channel, those were zoned agricultural, if I'm not mistaken. And what, 2 months ago? So January, it came in front of you guys to have the property conditionally rezoned CH. So the condition that's attached to it is that the lot is to be used, it doesn't open it up all the way, right, to everything in commercial heavy. It only opens it up to things that are accessory to the dealerships on the front lot.
Okay, so my question to you, that back 10-acre tract, was it ever zoned single-family
No.
residential?
No. And not all of the 10 acres was rezoned, just the portion in the blue lines, for lack of a better term. But no, as far as I know, that property was never zoned residential. When it was annexed, it was given an agricultural. And I won't say an agricultural, it was given what our old, used to be GAD, which was Growth Area District, which when we did the apples for apples, turned into agricultural.
So there has never been a indication that this would be residential property?
No, sir. And the reason why it was zoned GAD, which is our hold-in pattern, was because of the fact that we had no clue what was going to go on that 10 acres, and we didn't feel that it was just to zone that property until we knew what essentially was going to happen there.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah, do we know the cost that was associated with the developer to go through this whole process?
I mean, I can't tell you how much their permit will be, because I haven't seen that, but I mean, I can tell you what the planning commission fees were. I mean, it was, $1,500 for our fee for planning commission. That's the base fee, then a $15 per lot fee, so that's another $30 there. And then there will be a $130 recording fee once once the final plat gets recorded, whenever that would be. Then whatever cost was associated with having it surveyed, which I can't speak to that because I don't really know.
Survey,
Surveyed, then,
engineering, plans,
right.
drainage.
So they'll have to, part of this is that, part of their requirements is that they have to do a drainage impact analysis. So there's engineering costs associated with that. The other cost that'll be associated is the road that they're responsible for building. And then they're gonna have costs associated with engineering as far as utilities are concerned for both water, sewer, and electric. And then, whatever other architectural costs they have, building costs, all that other stuff.
Okay. And Mr. Boudreaux clarified what I thought was the case. Okay, that's all I have.
Denise Brown, did you speak? Okay. And she will be followed by Tiffany Swartz.
You're probably getting tired of seeing the same old faces, but we seem to have the biggest mouths of the bunch. First of all, this land, until just recently, until it was zoned agriculture, was country, way country. We still have a water well on our property, as do our neighbors 3 down. So when you're asking, was it ever intended to be residential or commercial or anything? It was country, it was a pasture until they developed the houses around it. It was owned by one family for years. And not only that, in regard to the fees that the developer will have to pay, keyword there, will. He hasn't paid them yet. We raised $1,000 in 2 days to file these appeals. So you sit there and say, yes, he's gonna have fees, but you know what? He can build it somewhere else and he'll have fees there also. We're not telling him, do away with your business. We're not griping about that. We just don't want that in our subdivision. And now I had something that I want to read to you, and I think I managed to screw it up. So I'll just ask you, how many of you actually read any of the emails that we sent? So some of you did. And it didn't make you think. I noticed that you were rather hesitant to even get anybody to make a motion on the prior appeal, but you sure did jump all over that no vote. I cannot understand for the life of me, nor can any of my fellow neighbors, why you think this will be so good for our neighborhood. If he wants to take an overflow lot, which is not necessary for his business, he has a huge employee parking lot right now. I drive past it every day on my way to work. Why can't that be turned into an overflow lot? It's not back in the neighborhood. It's already there. Throw a little concrete on top of the gravel. We don't want this. It will ruin our neighborhood. And our neighborhood is one of the few things where we can feel safe. Our kids can get out and play. Yeah, sometimes they play in the street. They're kids. But we also watch out for everybody else's kids. And if we have to start ducking test drivers. You can sit there and say, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. They said that about the 18-wheelers. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We put signs up. We've got pictures. It happens. Happens about once a week. They come down our little narrow 2-lane road with our deep drainage ditches, no markings on the road, and they realize, oh shoot, we screwed up. So they stop and try and figure out what they're going to do, because guess what? There's no place to turn around. I'm sorry. Is it that much of a problem for you to listen to us? We have to listen to you when you're speaking.
Excuse me, ma'am?
I ask if it was that much of a problem for you to listen to us when we are speaking. We return the favor to you, and I noticed you've done it numerous times tonight.
I am listening, and I leaned over to look at something right there in retrospect with the subdivision, okay?
Okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
We've worked hard on this. That $1,000 was not easy to come by. We're not rich folks. If we were living in River Ranch, this would not even be a question. It would never be here. Honesty, folks, honesty. And what's better for the people, not what's better for business all the time. Because without the people, you're not going to have business. And I think you've already heard that there's a large number of us that have already said, we're done. We're just done. And that's sad, because Lafayette's a great area. I wasn't born here, but I've lived here for 20 years. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Tiffany Schwartz, and she's followed by Jonathan Jobert.
Hi, Tiffany Swartz again. Hi. Mr. Boudreau, I was told that at one point they did try to make that area, that 10-acre area, into single-family homes, but the homes were too small, and the owner didn't like that. He wanted larger homes. That's why it didn't go through. He wanted it to be a nicer neighborhood rather than something really cramped. Also, we don't want this. Please grant our appeal. Please, please, please grant our appeal. Do not ruin our neighborhood. You said that he was following the rules as a landowner. He's not being a good neighbor to put something so destructive in the middle of a neighborhood. And that one person's rights to his land does not outweigh the rights of the entire community that he's destroying. We're all property owners, all of us. And when we flood, who's going to come and get us? Who's going to come and bail us out? Isn't it going to be the fire department? Aren't you making more problems for them? This is a huge problem. Please, please, please grant this appeal. As far as drainage goes, there are cities up north that get more rainfall. Seattle, for instance, they had to learn the hard way. They have no clay in their soil. It drains much, much better. Y'all have seen some of this. I believe there was someone in December who came by and showed you some of those reports. No? They get more rainfall than we do. They had to learn the hard way that so many parking lots in a small area leads to massive flooding, even though they have great draining soil. It's not a good idea. It's too much water from one area. It will ruin this neighborhood. Nobody has done a flood evaluation yet. No one. So you can't say like that's already gone through. It hasn't. And as Mr. Terrio, by the way, thank you so much for standing up for us and doing what we elected you to do. As he pointed out in January, I believe, when this went through, as far as rezoning, it's just going to get rubber stamped. And if rubber stamping were good enough, if our rubber stamping process were good enough, we wouldn't be in this pickle to begin with. Nobody would be flooding. I know you might think this is too late to address this issue, but it needs to have a massive overhaul. The flooding documentation needs to happen earlier in the system, not towards the end when so much money has already been poured in. That needs to be rectified quickly. That seems to be a bigger problem than adding 15% better drainage. Like, y'all need to decide first if it's going to be a problem before you decide how to fix the problem. If it's going to be a massive problem, 15% is not going to cut it. If you realize ahead of time that that area is going to flood no matter what you do, well, then you can cut it in the bud. And as far as following the laws, we're doing what we are supposed to do as citizens to oppose this, and we're not being met with satisfaction. So many of us are not being met with satisfaction. One voice, just because it has a lot of money, should not weigh more than so many constituents. Again, Mr. Therio, thank you so much.
Next speaker.
Jonathan Jobert, followed by Eddie Begnaud. Did Mr. Kyle Bork return from the hallway?
My favorite thing about coming back up here is I don't have anything to lose anymore because I know where I stand. First, I appreciate your heartfelt words. They're nice, I get it, but you do have the ability. We don't get to do whatever we want with our property, which is why there were zoning issues, and you are choosing to rezone them from agricultural to commercial. You are allowing that to happen. I don't get to do anything I want on my property. I wish I lived in your district, sir. I really do. The saddest part is that Ms. Hebert could have at least voiced our concerns, knowing that everybody else would vote anyway how they wanted. You could have said yes. You could have stood up for us, but you didn't. I don't know you. I don't know what's going on in your head, but so far you haven't spoken up once for anybody here. Now, I only have 4 minutes, so my wife asked me to read this email. I don't know if you read it. Did you read it from Jeremy Jobert? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. That says, I'm writing you in regards to tonight's Lafayette City Council Agenda 26, 7, and 28. As lifelong residents of Lafayette, my husband and I are saddened that Lafayette has become a place where the urgent interests of your constituency are less important than a possible business development. I am unable to attend the meeting as I have two small children. I am a homeowner in 1 block from the proposed parking lot on Canberra. Flooding has become a problem for our neighbors. My husband and I have multiple businesses and rental properties within the Lafayette city limits. We will be selling our home, rental properties, and moving our businesses out of state should this project move forward. We pay tens of thousands of dollars in property and business taxes to the city parish. While they may be a drop in the bucket compared to what Mr. Fobb brings you, know that you are choosing to most certainly devalue and possibly flood our homes. I was born and raised here and do not want to leave my hometown, but if my late grandfather, Burl Shipley, taught me one thing, it's to stand against what is not right, whatever the personal cost may be. And we're prepared to take the loss on our property value, that's fine too. The dealerships are already violating the law with test drives through our neighborhood and 18-wheeler trucks driving through our neighborhood as well. We implore you to side with the residents of our neighborhood in the appeals item 27 and 28, and to deny the appeal to the developer to waive the building of an additional road, item 26. At the very least, delay the rezoning until a study of proper drainage can be done. Thank you for your time and consideration. Those were her words. And now I'm dropping my phone because I'm frustrated. But you know what? I think we all have a right to be frustrated because, again, we trust the system. We trust to be civil, and we trust to do everything, and we trust you with our homes. We trust you with the zoning. And as you saw, when was it zoned commercial? Right, January. I've been there since I was 17 years old. I left because I thought that maybe everybody was right about Louisiana. I came back hoping that it was different. And you, the person in my district, didn't have the decency to talk to us. Those words had to come from this man right here. And that's sad. You could at least save face, but you didn't even bother to do that. And it's disgusting. Sir, I don't know what district you're in. Number 9? I wish I owned property there because I at least have trust and faith in you. Thank you.
Next speaker is Eddie Begnaud, followed by the final speaker, Amber Robinson. Eddie Begnaud? Okay, we will move to the final speaker, Amber Robinson.
Hello. I think you all know me better as Amy. I was going to start my evening with something, then I switched it up to your quote, Kevin, much like someone back there did, because you said something earlier that kind of stuck with me, owning a home, and that's your investment. So we'll start right there. So good evening, and I'd like to begin by thanking the community that helped to crowdsource not 1, but 2 appeals, the first one within mere hours. Your support has meant a lot. And to the council, thank you for the opportunity to present these appeals, regardless of how pointless we were told they were by both current city employees and former city employees, and you have proved that point tonight. So, at $500 a minute to speak to an elected official about the outcome of a predetermined outcome, you would think that this would be a little bit more fair on the rate. I'd also like to mention again how the planning and zoning website caters to developers and does nothing to help the citizens of this community figure out how to file an appeal. But I hope to continue to work with Liz and Carly on helping the website to get citizens through that process a little bit better. The community is listening, and I have no doubt that there are still people watching at this hour. And I'll skip through the 9 people voting because I had a feeling that, Mr. Terrio, you might be the one holdout there. But tonight, 9 people vote on something that does not affect you. But it doesn't affect you tonight. But next year, those of you who are up for re-election, it might affect. Because while the libraries may not bring people to the polls, people's houses flooding will bring them to the polls. So your refusal to take constituents' concerns into account by greenlighting this atrocity may come back to haunt you. We've given everyone a lot of reasons why this parking lot should not be built, but we haven't heard too many reasons why it should be built. It's not going to create a significant number of new jobs. It's not bringing convenience to our neighborhood. There are supposedly several supporters for this development, but we have not heard from any of them aside from the council, planning, and the developers. The question that planners and planning commissioners must be able to answer is how the creation of a commercial district along the edge of a neighborhood will be a positive change. Wendy Gray, American Planning Association. This isn't a store, it's not a usable facility for our neighborhood, and it's not anything that's going to bring anything positive into the 3 blocks that it's coming in. I don't think that I need to explain how it doesn't bring anything positive, but I can begin with the lights. The other night I was driving with my husband and we were watching the lights from Hampton shine into the neighborhood that he built himself where Hampton employees live. And I said, oh, well, the bad news is you're never going to sleep again, but the good news is you will not have to turn the lights on ever again in your home, so you won't have an electricity bill. So how about the decreased property values? How about the loss of property for not only the adjacent property owners, or the loss of privacy for not only the adjacent property owners, but the entire neighborhood? Since the dealerships to this day refuse to comply with not using our neighborhood for test drives. The lights are a privacy violation as well. The noise is a proven reducer of property values, and the traffic between the 18-wheelers and the test drives. I know that most of you have seen the video by now. If you haven't, please ask Liz, I've shared it with her, of the 18-wheeler driving backwards down one of our residential streets because he got stuck just last week. They aren't allowed to do that now, but they continue to do it every day. They haven't been allowed to do it for months, but they continue to do it every day. They don't listen, and they won't listen. I was told that to make this effective, I needed to make it about money, to take the emotion out. This council does not care about your home, so make it about money. So let's talk about money. When the Joberts move and take their property tax revenue from their local business with them, that's money. And when the Petersons sell their home, if they can, and move to Colorado, which they will because they both accepted jobs because of this development, that's money. And when Robert moves, that's money. All of these citizens that are threatening to move and will move, that's all money. So I hope that you take all of these things into account when you vote no, and don't any of you be afraid to rock the boat this time and go ahead and put your motion to vote no. Don't be chicken this time.
Any other speakers?
No, sir.
All right. I'll ask the council one more time for a motion or second to grant the appeal or a motion to deny the appeal. Councilman Terrio?
Just like last time, Mr. Escott, I make a motion to grant the appeal.
Second by Councilman Bellard. Motion is to grant the appeal. Motion first by Terrio and a second by Bellard. Okay. Please call the vote.
District 3?
No.
District 4?
No.
District 5?
No.
District 6?
No.
District 7?
No.
District 8?
No.
District 9?
Yes.
District 1?
No.
Shame on you. Shame.
I apologize, I couldn't hear your vote, Kevin.
No.
And District 2? No. Motion to grant appeal fails.
Councilman Con.
Sarah, would you stand up, please? I just wanted to say thank you. I have the longest history with you on this council, going back to actually before I even served the first time. And this is your last meeting. And you are going to Iberia Parish, to their credit. They know a good find when they see one. And you will be the planning director there. And I just wanted to thank you. You've done a hell of a job.
Thank you, guys. I'm gonna miss y'all. I, went out with a bang,
It's
but thanks. If you ever need anything, let me know.
Well, just tell Larry Richard he owes us one, okay?
I will. I hope I can do us justice. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
All right, moving on to announcements of vacancies on boards and commissions.
Due to expiration, 2 vacancies will exist on the Downtown Development Authority for 3-year terms effective September 1st, 2018. Applicants must own property in the downtown district or shall be an officer of a corporation or other business entity owning property in the district. Due to new legislation, 3 vacancies exist on the Downtown Management Committee for 4-year terms. Applicants must own immovable property or own a business that operates from a downtown location or be a director, partner, or member, as the case may be, of a business entity owning property or operating a business from a downtown location. Due to resignation, a vacancy exists on the Lafayette Airport Commission for the remainder of an unexpired 4-year term through October 31st, 2021. Applicants must reside in the unincorporated area of the parish of Lafayette. Due to appointment, a vacancy exists on the Board of Zoning Adjustment for an alternate position for the remainder of an unexpired 3-year term through January 30th, 2020. Applicants must reside within the city of Lafayette and own property within the parish of Lafayette. Individuals wishing to submit a resume for the above volunteer vacancies must be a registered voter and a resident of the parish of Lafayette. Yearly ethics training for all appointees is required, as is financial disclosure under certain circumstances. Resumes are to be forwarded to Veronica L. Williams, Clerk of the Council, P.O. Box 4017C, Lafayette, Louisiana 70502, or emailed to bclafayette@lafayettela.gov no later than noon Tuesday, June 19th, with appointments to be made on July 10th, 2018.
Thank you, Jeremy. Now let's consider appointments by the council as a whole to boards and commissions. Jeremy, would you please read?
Appointment to the Fire and Police Civil Service Board for a 5-year term effective July 26, 2018.
We have received one resume for consideration, and that is from the incumbent, Christina Harper Oliver. Ms. Oliver is nominated. No other nominations? Then please call for a vote.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5? District 6?
Yes.
District 7? District 8?
Yes.
District 9?
Yes.
District 1? District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
Motion to appoint Christina Oliver is approved.
Okay, appointments by the council members, mayor, president, and/or any other direct appointing authority. Jeremy, read the appointments, please.
Lafayette Mayor President Robideau appointed Mark DeCluet to the Board of Zoning Adjustment for a 5-year term effective July 1st, 2018. Lafayette Mayor President Robideau appointed Mary Guidry to the Cajun Dome Commission for a 4-year term effective August 1st, 2018. The Acadiana Area Veterinary Association President appointed Lindsay Boudreau to the Lafayette Animal Care Center Advisory Board for a 4-year term effective January 1st, 2018.
Thank you, Jeremy. Moving on to the introductory ordinances. Give me just a second. After consideration, item 41 will now be added back to the in globo list, and remind everyone that item 43 is pulled from the in globo list, so I will now ask for a motion to go in globo. I've heard it from Mr. Boudreau and seconded by Mr. Bellard, and I will now ask Jeremy to read the introductory ordinances. Thank you.
Ordinance 83, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the Unified Development Code so as to reclassify the property of Blue Place LLC, case number 2018-8, 111 Silverstone Road rezoning, located generally southeast of Silverstone Road, northeast of Woodsboro Drive, and southwest of Steiner Road, the particular parcel being rezoned from residential mixed to residential mixed conditional. Ordinance 84, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the Unified Development Code so as to reclassify properties fronting East Holly Saloon Road, case number ZON 2018-9, 624, 702, and 714 East Holly Saloon Road administrative rezoning, located generally southeast of East Holly Saloon Road, northeast of South Hugh Wallace Road, and west of southwest Evangeline Thruway, the particular parcels being rezoned from industrial light to commercial heavy. Ordinance 85, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the Unified Development Code so as to reclassify the property of OCT of Louisiana LLC, case number ZON 2018-10, 600 East Pinhook Road rezoning, located generally southeast of East Pinhook Road, southwest of Judy Street, and northeast of southeast Evangeline Thruway, the particular parcel being rezoned from industrial heavy to commercial heavy. Ordinance 86, 2018, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish